What is up, party people? Got another episode of the What's Your Why podcast here. This week we have Will Ratelle. He was recommended from former guest Ted Mullen, and very glad Will came on for the show. Met up at UND today and talked through all sorts of training type questions and scenarios and why he trains, how he got into training, also what his kind of thought process is towards fitness and training in general for athletes at UND. We dived a little bit into the Haas program. That's his strength program that he puts out, kind of his business on his own that he has started. And we'll have to dive deeper into that in the future because we didn't get too far into it today. But I really enjoyed this podcast. It goes along with the series on athleticism, and Will had some really good insights into training, philosophy of training, and how training can be successful in aiding in mental health and making you a better human overall. So enjoy. We dive deep into fitness, talk about both of our training styles, and I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it. Thanks, and if you like it, give it a share. Peace. So we're started here. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Will Ratelle. I'm a strength and conditioning coach at University of North Dakota. I played football here back from 2011 to 2015. Now I'm coaching here, and hopefully that's a good enough introduction. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll say anything else.
No, we'll dive into it a little bit. So obviously you didn't start your life here at University of North Dakota. Where are you from?
From the cities. I grew up in Edina, Minnesota. My parents still live there, but they're actually moving to Tennessee this spring. I have a brother who lives in Eden Prairie with his wife and their daughter, and that's where my family's at. And so, yeah, I grew up there, made my way up to Grand Forks, and basically been here since 2011, so about 10 years.
Gotcha. So, down in Edina.
Yep.
Did you know sports was going to be something that you were going to be in for your whole life, or were you just more of just an recreational, you just like doing sports throughout the time of growing up?
Shit. Yeah, I mean, I liked playing sports. I played sports my whole life, all types of sports: soccer, snowboarding, tennis, lacrosse, baseball, basketball, football, hockey. Pretty much everything growing up, so I always wanted to be involved in sports. I had no idea I would do something like strength and conditioning because I didn't know that was a real thing until I was a sophomore, junior in college.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know if other people have had that kind of experience too. But so when I was in college playing football here, there was just one day we were in the weight room and I just realized we have strength and conditioning coaches. This is an actual profession. So then I decided that's what I wanted to do because before I was a criminal justice major.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to be in law enforcement of some sort. And then I switched because I realized there was strength and conditioning as a profession. So I was like, that's kind of cool. Hang out in the weight room and do that kind of stuff. So then I switched my major, and now that's what I'm doing.
That was so I was well aware of that growing up because my dad was a phy ed teacher, and he always was the guy who opened the weight room in the mornings. He was the strength coach at Kindred, and as long as I can remember, we'd be my sister and I would be at the weight room with my dad at 6 a.m. For as long back as I can remember. And I started lifting, doing daily strength stuff when I was in 6th grade. And so that coaching, strength coach was always a career that was that would be super cool. And the people I was I looked up to my dad for that, but I was it'd be awesome to be a strength coach for a university.
How long were you doing CrossFit coaching for?
So I've been doing that since 2018.
And you're 25 right now, right?
Yep. So
since you're 21, when you were still in school.
Yeah, so it was my senior year of undergrad. I started coaching at a local gym in Fargo.
Did you just have to get certified?
Yeah, so I got it's called a level 1 certification.
Yeah.
Through CrossFit HQ. And then with that, I've always loved education, and coaching. And so like what I was gonna say is going into university, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a strength coach and do like an exercise science degree, or the route I did take, which was agricultural education. And so I ended up going with agricultural education, but that dream of being a strength coach was always there. Kind of watching the people like I can never remember his name, but the old strength coach at Nebraska.
What's his name? If you said his name, I know what it is.
Another guy was newer that I follow like in the last couple of years is like Coach Feld, who recently just went to Miami. Mm-hmm. Other guy was the Northwestern coach. He just seems just insane, kind of crazy. I love that attitude, and I love like the culture they bring to the weight room for athletes. And I think that I always thought that was super cool. But like for CrossFit, it was kind of a continuation of that. And so CrossFit was an outlet for me. I didn't do sports in college or anything like that. So it's kind of something for me to stay strong, keep doing Olympic lifting. I started that in high school and wanted an avenue to keep doing that. And so CrossFit was something I could do for that. The foundations, like the heart and soul of CrossFit, if you like really get to know it, is really cool for helping like the everyday athlete. And so I've really enjoyed getting to do that, and I just love education and coaching. So it's something I can do for me every day. Not every day, but like a few days a week where I can just work with people, teach, coach, and continue to do that.
When did you learn the Olympic lifting? How old are you?
Were
you in high school?
Yep, I was in high school. And so cleans and like maybe some squat cleans earlier in high school, but like snatch, as it's known in Olympic lifting, like the snatch and the clean and jerk would have been my senior year. We kind of dove into it as a school.
Did you learn it from your dad?
From my dad. He got the USAW level 1 when they hosted it at the CrossFit gym I go to in Fargo here. They hosted an L1 training there. And so my dad got it, and then my old football coach, Nate Safe, got it as well. And so they were coaches at Kindred. And so learned it from those two. But Nate learned it from his dad, who is super heavily involved in Olympic lifting in Minnesota. I can't remember what school it was from. Something Falls.
Fergus Falls?
Cannon Falls.
Okay.
Cannon Falls. And they had a really strong Oli program down there. And so Nate believed in it. So we kind of implemented it for our football team my senior year. And I kind of fell in love with that training style.
I love it.
Yeah. And watching your Instagram, you have some crazy lifts.
Appreciate it.
When did you start doing Oli lifting?
Well, I guess I learned how to clean in high school, but it was really poor. So the high school I went to, I think we had like, our weight room was like 3 squat racks, maybe 2 bench press racks, whereas like it was specifically a bench press rack. Like the bench was connected to the rack. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
So it wasn't like a squat rack with a bench you could pull in and out.
For sure.
That was like all we had. So like we didn't have like a strength and conditioning program, but you learn it by, I don't know, watching YouTube videos, and it's really poor.
Yep.
So I guess when I really learned how to do things properly was when I came to UND to play football, and was properly taught it playing football here. And then so that was cleans. Snatches I didn't learn until I got here. Jerks didn't learn until I got here. And I think Nate Bockel, who's my boss here, who is director of strength and conditioning, he's really good. He's really good at teaching technique in the Olympic lifts. So if you watch our football program or football guys, I would say they're probably above average compared to a lot of other like football players in Division I. So,
for strength wise or technique wise?
Technique wise. Okay. Yeah. So he does a really good job with that. So I learned when I got here, and I fell in love with it too. I probably would say snatching is probably my favorite thing to do in the weight room.
100%. I agree with that.
So yeah, I guess that's my story with Olympic lifts.
So kind of as a strength coach, are you writing the programs you do for your athletes here?
Yeah, not for football. So I'm an assistant with football.
Okay.
I basically just show up to those lifts.
Yeah, and you help out.
I don't do any of the programming. I show up, I see what the workout is, and then I help kind of organize the session or whatever. But yeah, so the athletes I'm working with now is tennis, golf, softball. So those are like my teams that I'm in charge of. So I do all the programming for them.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So thinking through like kind of the concepts I know of Olympic lifting is explosivity. I said that word wrong, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But explosiveness and being able to just move heavyweight really fast. Obviously, the UND program here for football believes in that. If your boss has kind of taught you that. Now, do you see, since you guys have really good form, how that is affecting the football players as well? And like,
I would like to say yes, but no, because I don't think like you've heard the term dynamic correspondence.
Yeah,
like I think that's a myth, not a real thing. I would like to say that I see transfer from the weight room to the field, other than just like general qualities of getting stronger, getting faster, more powerful. But
for sure,
yeah, I wish I could say that, but I don't think that exists.
Can you explain dynamic correspondence for like somebody who might not understand it as much?
Yeah. So dynamic correspondence just basically means like transfer of training into sporting activity.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
As simple as you can kind of put it.
So I would say you okay, actually I don't want to assume. I would assume you value strength training for a football program.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think are the epitome of movements that, say, like a lineman should be doing? Somebody who's exploding off the line, needs a lot of power against their opponent.
Like what, weight room movements?
Yep.
Squatting, hinging, pulling, just like the basic stuff. That's really it, man. Like,
so would you say more of like a Louis Simmons West Side Barbell?
Yeah, a lot of that
technique?
stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Would be great. I'm like I said, I'm a huge proponent of the Olympic lifts, so all that stuff. But yeah, squat heavy, pull heavy, push heavy.
Yeah.
Olympic lift heavy, and I think you're probably going to be in a pretty good position.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I
wish I could say like certain exercises or like bring more value to sports performance than other exercises, but
well, it's probably the whole
don't think that's true. And
combination of them.
Yeah, like with my profession, it would make me seem more important than I am, but I just don't believe it.
Well, no, and it's a noble quality, to say that my profession is not the thing that's going to lead you to the utmost success all the time, right? That's super cool. But kind of talking through the weight training of the football team versus the other teams, what's kind of the difference? Are you tailoring to the specific sport?
So you're asking with the football team at UND compared to the like softball and tennis?
Yeah.
No, maybe some other strength coaches on campus or at other schools do. But like if you look at our softball team, it's females 18 to 22-year-old. If I'm being honest, not very athletic, not very developed. They just don't need anything like that. They just need like general fitness, and if they improve their general fitness and like their general strength qualities, that's gonna provide them more value than if you tried to get into any sort of more complex movements. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't speak for other coaches and what other coaches here do with their teams, but no, it's all like you could look at the golf workout I have, the tennis workout that I have, and the softball training sessions that I have, and you wouldn't know which training session is for which sport because they're basically all the same. So yeah.
So you think for somebody who's not completely bought in and completely like all in, I want to train, more of a general program is going to be good for everyone, and it's going to be the thing that makes them the slight bit better, but then on top of their sport practice as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. That's it's definitely a different way to look at it, because like I remember my dad would do an individual program for every single person who
For
came
each
into the weight room.
athlete?
So like if it was football, he would write a football general one.
I gotcha.
Now if like it's like my girlfriend, for example, in high school, I remember she was like one of the only track people who wanted a track specific training. And so he wrote one that was more plyo based and it still had the strength movements in it and followed some like Russian squat programs at times. But it was different than what you would see for the normal like football workout, or the normal like the wrestler's workout would be a little bit different, or we had a terrible wrestling program, but that's besides the point. But it was different than the basketball workout. They're all a little bit different based on ideas that he had for them. And now it might have been a little much because most of them just didn't show up, especially the basketball guys. But which was hard for him at times, I know. But if like somebody came in like, hey, I want a training for this, they'd make it. And an example is, I don't know if he had this, but like we had a lot of rodeo guys. If they would have came in, he probably would have tried to figure out what rodeo people need. I don't think any of them are really weight room people except for maybe one. But they had more like a general one that I know of.
On that point, definitely with my experience, and I know this is anecdotal, but I think it's pretty true across the board.
Yeah.
Most athletes aren't weight room people.
Yeah.
So what sports did you play in high school?
Football and track and field.
Did you like the weight room more than the sports?
Yeah, at times, for sure.
So I definitely was that type of person.
Yeah.
But like I was the minority in that. Like most athletes, I don't know what the general public perception of athletes is, but they don't like to train. They don't like the weight room. It's a very small minority of athletes that do. And so that's like another thing that I have to keep in mind when I'm writing programs is most of these kids don't want to be here. Like sometimes it's like pulling teeth just to get them to do 3 sets of 5 on a back squat. So that's another component to why the training is so basic, because I'm not going to sit here and try to explain to this 19-year-old tennis player who'd never lifted weights, who's from Japan, who barely speaks English, the importance of like eccentric strength development in sports performance, because she doesn't care. She just wants to go play tennis. So that's just like a side note to it too. It kind of makes, I don't want to say anything bad about my profession, but like the truth is most of these athletes, they either don't like the weight room or they don't care about it, and they'll go through the motions, they'll do what they're supposed to do, but they're not interested in it. And so then you got to keep that in mind when you're programming. And then you also have to keep that in mind when you're like in a session with them. And if someone asks you a question, you don't have to give them the Verkhoshansky answer or the Zasiorski answer. Just say like, why are we front squatting today? Well, because it makes your legs stronger. Like that's the answer.
That's
you don't have to give anything else than that. Sorry, that was like a side note on it. But
you're good.
Just a little point I wanted to make.
Being somebody who obviously is more passionate about the weight room and training, just general training and strength training, than maybe the sport itself, you want to share that answer probably from time to time with people, and you want to talk like strategy, I would assume, from time to time. And like I get it, nerding out with strength training is something that I've definitely done in the past, looking at different programs, listening to podcasts with different people like Louis Simmons and whatnot, and just hearing like their theories behind different movements, I think is really cool. The other thing I think is cool, this is not sports specific, but just training in general specific, is seeing who is actually getting stronger in different like modalities, whether it's like a power lifter or an Olympic lifter or somebody who's just trying to get faster. I think it's cool to see and like how their programs are structured for what they're looking to do. Because obviously like even like a guy at like Westside Barbell is going to be like with Louis, or used to be, but or with somebody who's training for like powerlifting, like half Thor. It's going to be completely different training, and some of it will be the same, some of it's not, but I think it's interesting to see what their training is and how they're using it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're out of sports yourself, like you're not competing. Are you using your current fitness and training for something like competitions, or are you just doing it for yourself because you enjoy the process?
Kind of both. So I play a lot of basketball.
Okay.
I dunk probably twice a week, and that's like what I care about is being a good dunker. I've tried so many different approaches to like improving my vertical jump in different contexts, but like the only context that I really care about is dunking.
Yeah.
You know? So now I kind of have like a nihilist approach to it. So I'm 29 years old now. I don't see myself really, so I talk about like training in the extremes. I try to get, I shouldn't be speaking in like the first person like that. I think it's a good approach to train to improve your maximal strength in that extreme, as strong as you can, to improve your maximal velocity in that extreme, speed, maximal power output, all these different extremes, try to raise the ceiling, raise the floor, all these qualities. At 29 years old, I'm probably not going to raise the ceiling on any of those anymore. I'm getting too old for that. I think I can raise the floor where like my average strength can increase on any given day, or my average velocity, whether it's running speed or like my takeoff velocity on a jump.
For sure.
I think my average or my floor can increase. So that's kind of what I'm focused on almost now, like where my bad days aren't as bad as they were before. I don't really know where I'm going with this answer, but
no, you're good.
No, I take that's my approach to the way I train myself. And then I play basketball and try to get better at dunking. And I try not to, I used to try to merge the two of like dunking and vertical jump training together. That shit doesn't work. At least it didn't work for me with all the different things that I've tried. So now it's just like I'm trying to get really as strong as I can, at least raise the floor of my maximal strength, raise the floor of my maximum velocity, takeoff, sprinting, whatever context that is, and then get really good at dunking in its own domain.
So that's wild. Also, like, you're not a super tall guy by any means.
No.
And so, I've been following you for a couple weeks now, and you can fly up there, which is pretty cool for a strong guy. But when it comes to kind of like your strength training day in and day out, are you doing that by yourself, or are you doing that with people as well?
Mostly by myself. I wish I had more people to train with. So I'm actually twice a week. I lift weights, and sometimes we sprint with my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So he's really the only like training partner I have, and that's just twice a week.
Yeah.
The rest is all on my own, and I actually kind of like that sometimes. I was actually gonna make a YouTube video about this. So have you heard other people say that like, this kind of became like a meme in my own mind. I've seen so many Instagram posts that say this. I've seen so many Twitter posts that say this, where they say training is not therapy. If you need therapy, go to actual therapy. Yeah. I just think that's so wrong and twisted. Yeah. Like, of course, training is therapy. Like, if you look up the definition of therapy, I guess I don't know what the standard, like the textbook definition is, but it's like treatment that is provided in order to heal, right? Something like that. Okay. Whether it's like trying to heal a mental illness, a physical illness, something like that. It's treatment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What was the question you asked me? I forgot.
No idea. No idea.
Shit.
But
no. So, back to do I train with people? Or train by myself. Dude, it's therapy for me. I run my own business. I work here on campus. I'm married. We have a dog. Trying to have kids. Like, I have a lot of shit going on in my life. It's good for me to have an hour to myself to train, to do something that's virtuous and like get away from some sort of vice in my life, improve my mental state, improve my body composition, improve physical qualities that I can train. For sure. You know, like, it is therapy. It definitely is. And yeah, I think it's crazy that anyone would say that, like, you know, you shouldn't use exercise, you shouldn't use training as therapy. You should go see a psychiatrist for that. No, like,
Maybe for like other
there's
issues,
specific things,
but like a normal mental health 100. If you go,
it's the best thing you can do. If you see improvements in your body composition, your mental health is going to skyrocket.
For sure.
If you see improvements in just your ability to approach and accomplish physical tasks, your mental health is going to skyrocket for sure. So
if you go for a 10-mile run, you'll learn a lot about yourself.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
That could be a 2-hour lifting session.
There's acute, there's chronic effects that are all going to be in high value for you, and it's going to improve the quality of your life. Yeah, so
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask by yourself or with people is more or less for the answer you gave of like, do you find the value in training alone and kind of finding yourself? And maybe that might be a weird way to put it, but like you have to like push yourself. You don't have to rely on other people to push you. Kind of like one of the things I like to do for some running is like a wolf pack style run where you're running with a group of people and the whole group is pushing the pace. They're pushing each other to keep going. Whereas if I'm going for a run by myself, I could stop at any time and just walk and nobody's going to say anything. You're still going to get congratulations for going for a run. People are still going to think positively of you. But ultimately, if you choose to stop, you're probably either going to be sad about it or whatnot. It's
There's
all
regret
internally. So I was curious, like your videos mostly look like you're by yourself. Do you find a certain amount of like pleasure from being able to grow on your own in your strength process?
Yeah, I'm sure. I've never thought about it that way, but I'm sure there's like a subconscious.
Yeah.
Way. Yeah, I'm sure. And the other thing about that is too, because this is another like thing that I've memed in my own mind where like effective training has to be simple training, right? But like, dude, it's a form of entertainment. Our lives are so soft. Like we have cars, we have air conditioning, we have so many luxuries in our life. For sure. We literally make up work for ourselves. Like to get things done. Make it fun, make it a source of entertainment. It doesn't have to, you don't have to like quote follow the basics or stick to the basics or all that stuff. So that's another way that I just make it fun, man. Like I do random shit with the barbell. Do you follow Atlas Power Shrugged on Instagram?
I do not, no.
So he's this guy. I don't know what he calls the lifting, but I think he calls it like obscure lifts. Okay. It's all with a barbell.
Yeah.
But if you've like seen on my Instagram, like I've just copied some of the stuff he does. Where, like, one of them is like, you have weight on the bar, you grab it with one hand. You like flip it up so it's vertical, and then you never touch it with the other hand. So you lift it with one hand, tip it up, lean it on your shoulder, get it on your shoulder, stand up with it, all only with one hand. I don't know what that's called. I just called it barbell wrestling on my Instagram. But doing things like that like helps you stay motivated because it provides more challenges for you to accomplish. And then again, it goes back to like, oh, I wonder if I can do this. And if you can do it and you succeed at it, you feel good about yourself, and that's a boost to your mental health. And if you can't do it, then you're like, well, I'm going to try it again next week, and then we'll see if I can get it then. But yeah, it's a source of entertainment, especially with people who, like for myself, I play like rec league basketball, but I'm not on a team where we have like a goal to accomplish. I don't have anything like that. So I'll take advantage of the 60 minutes of training time I have every day that I can do something like that with.
Well, it's good that you find joy in it. I was talking to a former NDSU football player yesterday. I go to jiu-jitsu as well. And he was my rolling partner yesterday. And I was like, when did you actually start? I was like, you seem like pretty young still. And he's like, I graduated in last December and then started jiu-jitsu because I was getting fat.
That's what he said or you said?
That's what he said.
He said.
Started jiu-jitsu because I was getting fat. In August, and he's like, I just need something that I enjoy. And I was like, well, do you enjoy it? He's like, yeah. He's like, I never enjoyed the weight room, but obviously they had to do it as a football player. And with jiu-jitsu, he's like found joy in it. And it's crazy how many athletes don't enjoy their training program. And
it's insane to me, dude. I don't get it.
I don't get it either, because it's a direct, maybe not like if you train your sport a ton, like Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, like they train their sport a ton, but there is like that small value add of doing outside training outside your sport for getting stronger, getting faster. I don't see why people wouldn't enjoy that process as well. Now, I do get the physical access, or not access, but the physical discomfort that goes along with training. If it's not something you love, then that discomfort is not going to be something you enjoy. Because like you might love doing long distance running, but to get faster at long distance running, you also have to do sprinting, or like 400s, and well, that is sprinting, but not for me as much. But it just goes along with it, and so it makes you better. And so if you want to get like towards a 4-minute mile as a long distance runner, you have to do long runs and you have to do sprints, and it just seems like you would just want to do it. And so we kind of circled back in my mind a little bit to like your training of athletes. Does it ever kind of drive you nuts that your athletes don't want to train?
It used to, but not anymore. Now
Okay.
I've just accepted it. That's where some of my nihilism comes. Yeah, it used to. Now I've accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes me, this sounds kind of lame, but it makes me cherish the athletes that do like it.
For sure.
And with the athletes that do enjoy training, you just kind of naturally gravitate to those kids a little bit more, and you just hang out with them more when they're doing a session.
100%. It's the same as like I coached track and field for 4 years. I thought the exact same thing. The kids that love to be there and that worked hard, you want to talk to them, you want to talk strategy with them, and you want to push them. And as bad as it's to say, like you just sometimes just don't care about the other ones. Like one kid, I coached him for 3 years, and we won the state championship twice, or he did, for pole vault. And like, he's a natural athlete, but we worked a lot together throughout the winter. My dad coached him in the weight room, and he was a full believer in Olympic lifting training. I firmly believe that benefited his ability to jump on a pole and be able to control himself in pole vault. So now he was a natural athlete as well, but he worked really hard as well. And so that joy of working and the pleasure that comes from training an athlete that wants to be there is kind of like unbeatable. And I can't imagine working with people that just don't want to be there. That's also why I stopped in the education world. It's because there's so many students who just don't want to be there day in and day out.
Yeah, that's another thing so I teach here. I teach a class here.
Okay.
Dude, when I was a student, I was so dumb. I'm such a meathead. I was here on scholarship, so like I didn't care about school. I just cared about football. And so I wanted all of my classes to just be easy. And now that I'm older and a little bit wiser, now I recognize how stupid of me that was. And so I'm teaching, and my class is online, but we have like voluntary like class meeting times once a week. I get like 6 kids to show up in a class of like 30 to 40 kids. But it doesn't make sense. Like these people, you're paying for school. I'll get emails from students, and you can tell they haven't like read the chapter, they haven't looked through the lessons that I posted on Blackboard or online for them, and you can tell they're like looking for the easiest way to get like an A. Yeah. And it's like, guys, you're paying for this class. You should want to get something out of it more than just a grade, because I graduated and I was an idiot. Yeah. I didn't. As far as like the exercise science stuff, I've learned so much more now that I'm done with college and talking to people and doing my own reading and looking into different topics than I learned in college. And so, yeah, I don't. Again, I just don't get it. How are kids going to school, paying for school, and they don't have an interest in actually learning material and learning the course content? You know,
it's kind of just one of those things that sucks for kids will come to college because they think they have to, and
Right.
they just party it away. But there's one thing I want to dive into a little bit, is you just kind of brought it up a little bit, was you're learning now. And you're learning more outside of school than you did in school. But you talk about these different people you're learning from now. Who are some like the models you look to in your training? Either whether it's like former like strength legends or people just putting out content now.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So like starting wise, I probably started with Mark Ripito. I'm sure you know who Mark Ripito is. Starting strength guy. He was probably like the first person that I really like looked into, and then Zat Siorsky with Science and Practice of Strength Training. You've read that book?
I haven't read the book. No,
you know who he is.
Heard of him? Yeah.
Verkhoshansky, kind of like the main
strength and conditioning
guys in the field. Really good starting place, I think, for everybody. And then just other people I've met real honestly through like Instagram. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Austin Yoakum or Jake Tura. There's plenty of guys like the Flexible, the Flexible on Instagram.
No.
Jeffrey Wolf is his real name. There's too many people I can't like think of to like say right here, but
no, you're good.
Like Instagram messaging, and then I've like met people in real life, so it's not just online friendships, like Jake Tura and Austin Yoakum are two guys that I've gotten to know pretty well. I've met them several times. We've like met up over weekends and spent days together training, talking shit, just bouncing ideas off each other. Most of it is from that, and then getting outside of like the strength and conditioning field, like Nassim Taleb. You familiar with Nassim Taleb?
No.
Or like Jordan Peterson or other people who are more, I would guess, in like the philosophy realm. Yeah. If that's probably the
sure.
Yeah, the philosophy realm. Michael Knowles, people like that. They teach you how to think and break down different concepts and see if it fits a certain worldview or an ideology. And if it doesn't fit a certain narrative, then you got to figure out why it doesn't, and then work backwards from there and figure out why what you believe is not correct or it is correct, so you can kind of defend certain positions. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the cool concepts of there's two things that I thought of while you were saying that. Like, one concept is on Instagram, you can see all these people doing stuff, and there's a lot of people who just like kind of consider themselves experts, or maybe they don't consider themselves experts, but they have a huge following with like no background. But what they're doing is producing results. And so I think that's very fascinating. The people who just kind of dive in on their own to figure something out. And you could say that, like, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy who does knees over toes.
Yeah, Ben Patrick.
He's developed a great program that a ton of people are following. And like, I'm a month into it right now. Definitely gaining range of motion back that I lost when I started running a ton. But
does he have his own app?
Yes,
it's his own app.
It's a very good app. Okay, and it's so I pay for it right now, and I will for at least a little bit longer. He has a good team of coaches that are always messaging you back. You submit a video. He wants you to submit a video every time, but at least like once a session, maybe your most problematic piece of that session. And he has a coach that will send a full, like, what you would think is like an angry text from your significant other message worth back of form, cues, and tricks that can get you a little bit better. And it's actually a very good program. So like he was not a strength and conditioning guy. He was a basketball player who wanted to play basketball recreationally again, and he kind of figured this out on his own. I'm probably missing some pieces of his story, but pretty fascinating. And he's probably like almost one of the pinnacles of that. But also like Louis Simmons had no formal training in strength and conditioning. It was a lot of him learning on his own, but then applying it to himself and his athletes. That has just developed probably like some of the best power lifters of all time. And he wasn't an Instagram guy by any means. And
right.
He had content, but he had learned all this stuff on his own through just having a passion for it. And you see a lot of those people on Instagram who have found their niche and are just diving into it. Like, I don't need college, but I can learn all this on my own through whether it's reading on their own or just development through themselves. I think it's super fascinating. I forgot what the other piece was that I wanted to bring up through. Oh, you talked about thinking about thinking, defined as metacognition. Something I learned in grad school, which was like a super interesting thought. Not super interesting thought, but something that a lot more people should be aware of. Having the ability to think through what I am saying. Is this dumb? What I'm thinking, is this dumb or is this smart? Having the ability to kind of like recognize what you're doing without having somebody needing to tell you. Kind of thinking about your
right,
own
without
actions
having
and
to
your own
appeal
thoughts.
to some sort of authority figure or an expert to confirm. Yes.
And those guys like Jordan Peterson do a very good job of like putting things into perspective. One of my old sales guys and I read 12 Rules for Life at the same time. And some days he would come into a slump, into the office in a slump. Have you read that book? Or
Yeah.
So I would ask him.
I haven't read the second one.
Okay.
Just the first one.
I'm currently reading that one right now, but it's very similar to the first one. Basically, because it's an extension of the first one. But he talks about the lobster.
Yep.
Like, what kind
Chapter
of lobster
1.
are you? And I would always say that to one of my sales guys, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm a big lobster with my chest out, I got big claws and all this stuff." And it would put him in a different mindset. He's like, "I didn't think about that today," but he got the analogy because he read the book, and Jordan Peterson gave him that mindset to be like, "I need to have my chest back, stand up tall, and I'll be more confident." And it worked every day. Like that, he came in down and be like, "Dude, just think about you're here, make the most of it." And there's people like Jordan Peterson, or you could say anybody who provides like motivational content out there. I'm a big fan of motivational content, whether it actually does anything long term. People like Goggins create sparks in people, and whether that spark lights a fire that keeps going, or if it is just something that flames out right away, they're doing something to spread positivity. And Goggins is like a wild guy, but people like Jordan Peterson share the message to like all kinds of people, like whatever you're doing, whether it's athletics or becoming a better reader. It's cool that they provide this outward message through Instagram, through their books, through their content that is just helping people out. That was a big tangent.
No, so I like it because another thing that I've like memed in my own head is you'll see people, regardless of like the industry, a lot of it's in the fitness industry, but they'll say like there's so much bad information on social media. It's like there's a lot of really good information on social media.
There is.
It's your job to filter out good and bad information. If you can't do that, that's your own problem. Do you know who Angus Bradley is? Okay, so he's a fitness guy. I'm going on his podcast, I think, at some point.
Okay. In
the next couple of weeks. But he made a post. Let me pull it up. This is this is perfect, dude. Kind of what we're talking about, or what I was making a point of. Sorry, people listening, as I'm pulling this up on my phone, taking some time. But I think it's amazing. Angus, there you are. There we go. So he made a post.
What's Angus's like background?
I really don't know, man.
He's like an athletic guy.
Coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So he has this post on Instagram here. It says you can have actionable information or you can have context. So like, and if he goes, I'm not gonna read the whole post or whatever, but like, he's gonna put out information on social media. You can figure out in what context the information is suitable for, what it's not suitable for, but it's not his job to like digest the entire idea for you. Yeah. To make sure that you apply it in an appropriate manner. For sure. No, I just going back to like people will say there's a ton of bad information on social media. Don't go to social media to learn stuff. Yeah. No, go to social media to learn stuff. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Yeah. You just have to have the filter to understand what's good and what's bad information. But no, I was going to ask you, so you're doing the knees over toes stuff. Yep. Are you still running? You said you were
Yep.
running like 10 miles a day.
So not a day.
Are you training for something? Or are you just trying to be well-rounded?
I try to be a well-rounded person.
You're still doing jiu-jitsu?
Yep. So like a success. This is definitely not an everyday thing for me, but a successful day for me is I wake up, go for a run between 5:30 and 6, whether that's 3 to 10
Every day?
miles. Nope, not every day. Just because of my knee issues right now, I can't run every day right now. But like, so back in what month is it? It's October. Back around April, and the beginning of the year, like for a solid like 4 or 5 months, I was doing like 4 days a week, 7 miles by 7 a.m. was kind of like my mantra. And then go sauna before work, cold shower.
Were you running outside?
But I would go inside and on a treadmill.
Where do you go?
Family Wellness. And
they got saunas and
yeah, they have a
whirlpools,
sauna,
that kind of stuff.
and they have a really good treadmill set up
Okay.
there. So that's why I got my membership there. And then at work, I do whatever. Now I do my knees over toes at lunch every day. But just started that. After work, go right to the CrossFit gym. It won't pick up that noise very well, so we're good.
Yeah. I didn't know they were doing pickleball.
No, you're good. After work, go straight to CrossFit, and whether I'm going to coach it or not, like I don't. Some people have a misconception that a CrossFit coach does the class with people. They're just instructing, making sure everybody's safe, doing the movements right, to the best that that athlete can. And so I love doing that. And then after that, go to jiu-jitsu. And so it can be like really long days. But I was talking to a friend last night. It was like 8 o'clock, and he was like, oh, I have to go hop in the sauna because I didn't do it yesterday morning. And he was like, do you ever stop? And I was like, I try not to, because I like having full days of just doing it. And you asked if I'm training for something. Kind of. I want to do a jiu-jitsu competition at some point. I think I'm pretty close to getting a blue belt.
I don't know anything.
Sure,
I don't know what jiu-jitsu is. Is it more like wrestling than like punching?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It's more of the on-the-ground grappling, but instead of looking to get somebody on their back, which you do in wrestling, your goal is to get them to submit, whether it's like through an arm bar, whether it's through a choke, whether it's moving your shoulder in a way that's not supposed to move, and you get it in a tap, kind of thing. So it's more of like you could think of it as like basic self-defense of if somebody like attacks you and they pin you, what would you do to get them to be immobilized themselves or get away? That's like the foundational. Now they have like sports jiu-jitsu on top of that, which we learn as well. But the basics is like how to get somebody off you, or if you get in like a hairy situation. And I find like it's it's exhausting. Like it's a different kind of training and fitness. But my ultimate thing is ultra marathons.
Have you done that before? That's like 84 miles, isn't it?
No, it's they vary. Anything over 26.2.
Okay.
And so I did one 50K, which is 32 miles. Did that back in May. I completed that successfully. I did the Matahe, which is out in western North Dakota. I've done that twice now. Dropped out at mile 40 both times of 56 miles for that one. First one.
Were you able to run those 40 miles without a break?
No.
Okay.
Definitely took some breaks. It's the race. The first year was July 29th. The second year was July 30th. And so very hot. The first year I didn't train enough. And now first year was more of a mindset thing. I gave up and I let myself stop, and which that was a complete mental thing that I thought I had kind of overcome because I had a lot of more really long training days building up to this year. But this year, so this is like 3 months ago. It was actually like 2 days before I recorded the podcast with Ted. I was in a world of hurt when I was recording with him, but I was pretty sick. I've had a cough since 4th of July. That's been ongoing, and at the time it was pretty bad still. Like they gave me an inhaler at the doctor for it. And so I had that going into the race, and then none of my food was sitting for that race, and my body just decided to take a turn on me that day. So like the sodium drink I was taking wasn't absorbing into my body at all, and then so it was just going right through, and every aid station I would pee and poop, and so like none of it was absorbing, and then I ultimately got to like mile 35, and my brother-in-law, we trained quite a bit, kind of like how you do it. He's like one of the most athletic people I know. He's ridiculous. But he did an 11-mile section with me that day, and I don't know if I would have got through without him, because the last mile and a half, him and then my sister was a part of my crew, met me a mile and a half in, and helped carry me off because I was in just constant cramps for about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like where
That's brutal, man.
My quads were just completely locked up, and I couldn't
do
really
anything
move.
about it. Yeah.
I got to the doctor and I was in rhabdo.
You did, huh?
Yeah, it was.
I've never experienced that.
It was pretty shitty. I'll be honest, but it's really funny because my sister, my brother-in-law, and my girlfriend were all there, and they were all like really scared. But I was like, I'm fine. I don't want to go to the doctor. I'll be okay. We get to the doctor, like, you're in rhabdo. You need all this stuff. I got 5 IVs that night, which I felt amazing Sunday night because of it. But kind of like lagging effects later on. But I lost 30 pounds that day of like body mass and fluid. I'm finally gaining it back.
Yeah.
But it was a rough day.
How many hours a day do you work? Like your job?
8 to 4
hours?
usually.
8 to 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yep.
And so you train. You do some sort of training or some exercise every day. Yeah.
Try to climb on the weekends.
Yeah, that's good, man. Because I always, obviously, I'm blessed that I'm in like the fitness profession. So I have access to a weight room. Like my office is a floor above where the weight room is in this building.
Okay.
So like, there's really no excuse unless I'm like session after session after session from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., which never happens. There's like never a reason where I can't find time to like do something that's positive for my body. So I think it's interesting how you're able to do that when you don't work at the gym that you go to. So I'm sure you drive to work.
The CrossFit gym I do. That's the one though. But yeah.
But your other job.
Yep.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I think it's cool, man, because there's a lot of people that would say like I don't have time to train or I don't have time to do stuff. And I get it. I'm totally empathetic towards like a mom or who middle age. Like there's people who really don't have time, but you're 25. There's a lot of 25-year-old single guys who live alone who are fat.
For sure.
And they would rather drink and like they just make poor decisions that are bad for the health, and it bothers me. It really does.
I completely agree. One of my friends we were talking about it, and he wanted to hang out, and I was like, I just don't got time. Like I have things going on right now, but we ended up hanging out anyways. But there's a lot of things I want to do, and I make the most of my days. But the one thing I can always say that I'm lucky for is I grew up with it. Like, my dad woke me up in the morning. Like, there's most people going to high school weight room, if they're showing up at 6 a.m., it's because they got up, not because their parents told them to get up. Like, my dad woke me up, and so I'm pretty blessed for that, of having him do that and pushing me every day and making it a habit in my life to work out every day. Now, obviously, that was 9 years ago. And I've continued to do it, but the other thing is like, so I see my sister and my brother-in-law almost every day, and they're both big into fitness. My girlfriend's a good runner, really good rock climber, and so everybody in my life is into it. So I kind of have to keep pushing it, and so I don't know. Similar to you, I find that extreme joy in training.
Yeah.
I love training. I'm super fascinated to know what this knees over toes will do if I follow the program as strict as I am in 4 months. Like, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be great? Is it going to kind of like resolve some of my knee pain? I'm not banking on it solving all of it because my knees are pretty fucked up. But if it gives like a little bit better, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But, you know, day in and day out, the reason I train is just become like a better human, you know, more efficient, being able to do more things. If a friend showed up and was like, hey, let's go for a 10-mile run, I'd be like, yeah, let's go. I could just go do it. Or like if my sister's like, let's go do an Oli squat day. I'm like, okay, let's go do it. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to do like anything, you know? That's my goal.
Yeah.
So,
I feel that.
One thing I really want to do is dunk. And like I've never done it.
How tall are you?
5'10".
Okay, we're the same height.
Yeah.
It's doable, man.
Doable.
It's doable.
Have you ever heard of like I don't know his name. I think it's Andrew. PJF Performance.
Yeah. I know PJF.
I've been following him forever. I've thought about buying his program before to do it. And every time I used to think about it a lot more when I was like early college. I probably wouldn't have followed it as strict as I would now. But I've thought about that one before.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to dunk. I wasn't a basketball guy either though. Like never.
Do you ever play basketball now?
No,
not
at all. But I think it'd be cool to dunk.
Yeah.
Like we've done a couple times where like the other outside sales guys will come to the office and we'll all meet up and play pick up basketball. Yeah. If we did that, I would love to just like throw it on a dunk randomly, and they'd be like, "What the?"
But get on the court with Jackson.
Yeah,
well, he can. I've seen him. He can fly.
Growing up, we had some of the most intense basketball games. So our uncle Tim, his 4 or 5 kids all were good at basketball. His son was really good at basketball. Went to play college basketball. Jackson's sisters, good at basketball. Jackson's good at basketball. Our second cousins were all basketball players. And so growing up, we had these just insane basketball games at our uncle's place that were like the most intense basketball out there. Like an elbow to the face was not a foul. And so Jackson was always somebody you wanted on his team, but because he was good, obviously, but he wasn't a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like my cousin Hannah, like 5'5", like just over 100 pounds probably at the time, would probably beat Jackson on that day because she would just knock him out.
Yeah.
But speaking of Jackson, what was he like in the weight room?
So I think I only coached him for 1 or 2 years. He was good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything bad about Jackson.
You can talk shit about
Jackson.
Jackson.
He was a little bit of a prima donna in there.
Yeah, that's what I would expect.
He wanted a lot of special modifications for him, which we did for him. So if he's listening to this, you're welcome, Jackson. We made some modifications for him.
I heard stories when he was in high school. He would be like, I don't want to practice today. I'm just going to go get my legs massaged. And I was like, Jackson, good God. What are you doing?
Same stuff here. Same stuff here.
Little prima donna.
Yeah.
I can't really see that from Ted. He's the other football guy
that
I know from UND.
Ted, Ted shows up. He's gonna work.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if he rolled his ankle at practice. Yeah. He's gonna do. Yeah, he's gonna do what he's supposed to do. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure you get to your in-laws' dinner. I do want to talk about your Haas program at some point. I don't think it's me today.
Okay.
I'll have to have you on again.
Yeah.
But if you want to share a little bit about it now, like a brief snippet and like what your social media is, by all means, go ahead.
So I guess I'll just share social media. My Instagram handle is will.ratelle.
Okay.
Really easy to find.
Yeah.
And my YouTube channel is just my name, Will Ratelle. Those are really easy to find. The Haas project, basically, so it's an ebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 10-page ebook and then a program attached to it at the end.
Okay.
The program is, I think it's 10 weeks long. I should know this, but I think it's 10 weeks long.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the ebook kind of goes over principles of the program, kind of different methods that are going to be included in it. It's derived from Chris Beardsley's effective reps model.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that, he was someone I should have named earlier when we were talking about like resources. Chris Beardsley's amazing. It's a program that's basically designed to. It's just a concurrent program, man.
Yeah.
Like, get strong, get big, be athletic at the same time. It just includes all of the major lifts,
Cool.
like all the basic barbell stuff. A lot of questions I've had about it from people before they purchase it is like, hey, if I have a home gym and all I have is a squat rack and a barbell, can I do it? The answer to that is yes, you're going to have to make some modifications, but I have modifications included in the program for people who lack equipment.
Right
on. It's for everybody, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely share your social media, your YouTube page, which I need to get from you, and all that stuff when I post it. And I am posting it on YouTube as well. We don't have a video here, but that's whatever.
Yeah.
Post the audio
Next
on there.
time,
a little bit more accessible. But
cool.
Right on. I just appreciate having you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks
Handshake.
for your time.
Well, I have left the building this time. We recorded at a gym at UND, and I apologize for some of the background noise that you guys heard. There was some pickleball going on, and it was unforeseen, so it's whatever. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a bother for you guys. But I really enjoyed having Will on. He had some unique thought processes on just athleticism in general, training, sports-specific training, and it was cool just to kind of talk shop on sports and how we train for what we do. I'll definitely have to have him on again to talk through his Haas program, his ideas of training, where he wants to go with it. And I really appreciate you guys listening. This has been awesome doing this athleticism theme of the podcast. And we have another one coming on this weekend. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.